All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Natives in America podcast, and this is your host, Benjamin Juan. With me, as always, is Sky Anto. Sound off, brother.
Hey, what's up? How's everybody doing?
I'm really excited. I'm kind of nervous. Like my heart's pounding out of my chest. I'm surprised I even feel this way, but
I'm smiling.
Yeah, I know. I'm smiling too, big time.
Guys,
everybody who's listening, we finally got him here. It's finally on. I don't know if you guys already heard him laugh, but with us for the first time is Mr. Harty. He's here, so why don't you sound off, Harty?
Hello, you guys. Hello, Ton Optim Nation, and Benjamin and Sky. I'm honored to be here.
Yes, he's here, guys. He's here. He's finally here.
We did it.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry if I made it that tricky, man. I'm glad I finally bought the right phone so we can actually do this. So.
Yeah. It took a while. It took some cajoling, I guess.
Yeah, it did. It did, and you guys have been very patient. So thank you for that.
Woo! Oh, man, my heart's still racing right now. I gotta calm down here. People, he's here. I've missed him. Like, it's crazy to hear his voice for the first time in a long time. It feels like.
I can't believe how long I've lived in Oregon now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, I know. Time just has been flying away, man.
Yeah.
It's incredible, but.
Yeah, it doesn't stop, does it? It just keeps going, and you're whether you're ready or not, it just keeps going.
Goes faster all the time, man.
Yeah,
faster all the time. I can't believe how fast the months go by, like weeks, days now.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh yeah. Okay, so this is season 3, and for my guests from now on, this is what I'm going to try to do here. Is how about you announce yourself with I don't know if you've heard the classic native introduction where you tell them, hey, this is my name, these are my parents, these are their parents, and this is where I'm from. If you could do that, that'd be great. Starting with you, then your parents, and then their parents, if you want to do that, and just where you're from.
I just wish I could do it in Optum, but I'll try. Yeah. Well, my name is Michael Harty. My father was Gerard Anthony Harty. My mother was Lise Harty, Askland Harty. My dad was from Brooklyn. My mom was from Norway, and then in Brooklyn. And I grew up in New Jersey, in the northeast corner up by New York City. And
wow.
I don't know. Is that everything? Did I cover the whole thing?
That was fantastic. It's the first time we've done it, so
this is the kind of thing I mess up, man. I don't want to mess it up. So, but anyway, yeah.
Okay. Where do we start here, Sky? Like, I'm thinking, with teachers, I like going back and going, how'd you start on your way to becoming a teacher? So if you want to start there, like. Let's see here. How about what kind of kid were you?
I was like pretty much of a goody-goody when I was young, especially. Mm-hmm. Not like totally, creepy like that, but just like I didn't get in trouble. I didn't do anything like bad or anything. I didn't try to get in trouble with my teachers or anything, but. I don't think I really understood school when I was in it, when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I just didn't get it. I didn't understand, especially like math. I didn't know why I had to do this. It felt like I was being tortured. Oh. But, and I know you've always heard people say that, if you get one teacher that you really connect with, you're pretty lucky. Yeah. But I feel like I must be super lucky because I just had a lot of teachers that I really enjoyed knowing, even the ones that were kind of goofy or weird.
Yeah.
But I just liked most of my teachers. There was really only one or two that I would say I really couldn't get along with. But I can't say anything like when I was a kid. Sort of would have nobody would have guessed I was going to end up as a teacher, especially when I was in high school. I had long hair and a beard, and I looked. I was a hippie, and it was just, nobody, including my parents, had any idea what I was going to do after I got out of high school. I think they were partly worried I wasn't even going to make it out of high school, but that wasn't really a problem. I did, I messed up in a couple of classes. Like I failed a history class, a social studies class, and it wasn't because of the class, it was because of the teacher, and that's the one teacher, and I will not say his name, but he was the worst teacher I ever had, simply because he never taught. And, plus he had judged me without knowing me at all, and, I don't know, it was an eye-opening experience, because I just realized how much I guess I valued the teachers that I did like and did learn from.
Yeah.
And this guy, I failed his class, I don't even know if it was for real good reasons. I mean, like I said, he never taught. And so there wasn't anything for me, I didn't feel like there was anything for me to fail. But I had to retake the class in summer school.
Oh, no.
And that summer I had another teacher who I'd never had. I knew who he was. He was in the, social studies department. His name was Mr. Newman. And it was awesome, man. I mean, it was like 3 weeks of everything being really crammed together and rushed. But I learned more in that 3 weeks from Mr. Newman than in the entire year with the teacher who will not be named. I liked history. I liked classes. The classes that I liked, like English and history, I did really well in. Classes like biology, I just bombed. And I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd done better with science classes, but I just wasn't ready for it at the time. But anyway, so I had some teachers that I really connected with, and I've seen them since I graduated, and I still have just really great warm feelings for them and stuff. So I did have that, but as far as like what led me to become a teacher, there were before I answer the whole question, I just have to say that, like, everything great in my life, I did not plan, okay? And I mean, like, my marriages, and, I'm twice married and twice divorced now, so I'm not saying I'm some kind of champion at marriage, but I mean, I was, both of them were wonderful surprises and not something I planned for. And, my kids are just the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow.
But after my kids, the next best thing that ever happened to me was Barbecue High School. And, working there was just great. But I didn't plan to become a teacher. It almost just sort of happened. Like, it just seemed like the best alternative for what I had. Before I went back to school to get a teaching certificate, I went to college. I studied Chinese. I got a master's degree in Chinese philosophy.
What?
And it didn't really have any job prospects attached to it, right? It was what I really wanted to study and learn about, and I did, and I'm totally glad I did it. But I wasn't ready to go out and get a job based on that degree.
Wow.
So when my first wife got married or pregnant with our second child, I realized I had to really find a permanent kind of job, and I decided to go back to school to become a teacher. Before that, I'd been working. I sold motorcycles for 2 years, so I was a stand-up salesman. In other words, people would come to the door and you'd shake their hand and try to sell them a motorcycle right then and there. And it was not a job I liked. In fact, literally true. I worked that job almost 2 years to the day. It was the first job I had after college. And I cried the day before I started, and I cried the day when I finally quit, because I hated it, but I learned so much about human beings, about how people act, and just how to deal with people. And it was a good kind of crash course for being able to stand in front of a classroom and teach high school students. But again, I didn't have a direct path that I would have said, this is always my destiny at all. In a certain way, I just accidentally found it as a job to do, but then I did it and I loved it. And and it was weird too. I was thinking about this because I knew we were going to talk about this tonight.
Yeah.
But a long time. Well, I don't even know if it was maybe when I was a freshman in high school or something like that. 1 year for Christmas, my mom gave me this Christmas tree ornament that was a little dorky-looking teacher, right? It was a guy with glasses and a little pointer, and he was holding a book or something like that. And it was obviously supposed to be a teacher. And I don't know why she gave it to me. I don't know if she was pushing me in that direction. I asked her about it, and all she ever said was, well, I think you might have a lot to offer. But, like I said, I was a kid, and I wasn't thinking about any job, let alone a specific job.
Yeah.
But like I said, I thought about it, and it seemed like the most likely thing to work. And when I went to school and took the classes in it, I really started to like it, and I discovered something about myself. So I didn't plan it as like where I wanted to end up, but I ended up there, and I was super happy about how it went. And I did choose that I did want to work on a Native American nation if I possibly could. I mean, when I graduated and had my teaching certificate, I mean, I applied to places all over Arizona, and Baba Kivri was the only place that actually responded, and I got an interview there, and that's where it all began. So,
wow,
that's me. Yeah,
that's already a fantastic start here.
Well, you know, like I said, man, teaching was great, and just like becoming a parent, you know, it was something I hadn't planned on, but like I said, when it happened, and it was like this wonderful discovery, and I mean, I loved it. I love teaching. You know, I love teaching at Baba Kivri. You know, I love being there.
That's incredible. It
was really meaningful. You know, it was the most meaningful job I've ever had, never will have, I'm sure. So.
Wow.
So what was your attitude going into college from high school? Like, were you kind of just going to go, or were you hyped about the?
That's a great question, and yeah, I went to college twice. In other words, right out of high school. Now, this is what I mean about not planning. I had absolutely no plans for after high school. You know, I was, you know, I didn't really think about going to college at all. And so what really happened was my guidance counselor, who I didn't really even know that well, and my mother together panicked and conspired to sort of figure out that, you know, was there some place I could go to go to school after high school. Wow. So they got me enrolled in this program at Boston University called the College of Basic Studies, and it was basically for high school students who hadn't graduated very high in their class, and you know, hadn't been like really academically inclined, and it was sort of like meant to get you, you know, started in college level classes, but a lot of it was almost like I don't want to say like community college exactly, but it was just geared towards sort of building a foundation that you could use to then go on. And it was like a 2-year program, and then you're supposed to just transfer into the regular university in whatever, you know, area you were going to do. But I went, and, you know, like I said, they kind of said, hey, we got this thing, why don't you do it? Yeah. And I was just like, okay, whatever. And I wasn't ready, you know, so I totally bombed out. Now, it was the first time I'd ever lived away from home. It was in Boston, and Boston was an interesting place to live. And this was 1977, 78, you know, and it was the year when there was a huge blizzard that shut down the entire city for like a week or two, and that was cool. That was like, because I was working in the cafeteria, and we had to feed all these students who were snowbound and stuff, and you know, like the National Guard was bringing us these gigantic thermoses full of soup and crap like that, and literally walking through a walkway where the snow was like above my head on both sides, walking through like this hall cut through the snow by, you know, a snowplow or something like that. But living in a city like that, and I was drinking then too, and so I was not making good choices, using good judgment. And so I screwed around. I mean, the first semester I went to classes, I did okay. You know, the classes I liked, like English and the psychology class, I think I did pretty well. But, you know, it wasn't working for me. And the second semester I just totally bombed. I mean, I think I failed all the classes. And in fact, I had discovered this movie theater in Boston, a couple blocks from where I lived, where they would have film festivals all the time. In other words, they would just show a bunch of movies made by the same director with the same actor or something like that. And you paid like $3, and you could sit there literally for 8 hours and watch 3 movies in a row. Wow. and just spend the entire day there. And you could stay as long as you wanted. So that was the total destruction of my first year at college. All right, so I screwed up. So, and I feel bad because I know that mistake cost my dad a lot of money. It was money he had just inherited from his own dad who had passed away. And, you know, I do feel bad about that I'd kind of squandered that year. But in my own defense, I was not ready. And I've talked to a lot of people. I mean, I tried to talk to, people, seniors at Labo about, the first year of college is traumatic. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, my daughter had a really hard time her first semester. It's a big transformation, especially if you're far away from home.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't ready for it. So I screwed that up, went back home. I got a couple of crappy jobs for a while. I installed sprinklers for like a summer, and then I got a job in a factory. That was horrible, and that convinced me to want to go back to school. So then I went to the community college, but I also felt more like I was ready, like I knew what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
Because I was always reading and stuff on my own, and I discovered. I mean, when I was a junior in high school, really, and let me publicly thank my 11th grade English teacher, Mrs. Mary Lou D., who was a wonderful woman and a really great teacher, and she really was encouraging. She encouraged me with things I was writing and things like that, but also just got me really interested in literature more, and that kind of continued in senior year, and I had a couple of other great teachers there. And I don't know, after I got out of school for a while, screwed up at Boston University, I just got a little more focused. I kind of knew what I wanted to do. That doesn't mean that I knew what kind of job I'd want, but just that I had some sense of what college would be for me, what I would want to study. So I went to community college, and then after being there for I think like a year and a half, I transferred to the University of Arizona, and I decided I wanted. I kind of wanted to study languages, so like I studied a lot of different languages. Never really learned to speak any of them, including Chinese, but I was still interested, and I got a lot out of it. I mean, I don't regret any of it, but anyway, so I transferred to U of A to study Chinese, and I minored in Japanese, and then I minored in English. And, anyway, so I had all that, decided to get my master's degree, and I was thinking about getting a PhD and, trying to be a professor in, some branch of studying Chinese culture or philosophy or something like that. But I really didn't want to do that, because just when I was a graduate student, I'd witnessed enough of the kind of politics that goes on in college departments, and I just knew that wasn't the way I wanted to spend my life. So, I finished that, and then, like I said, after that, I'd met my first wife in college, actually, right at the beginning of graduate school. We met in school, and then, we got married, had a daughter, and, then when we were having my son, that's when I decided I needed to get a better job, so I went back to school to become a teacher.
Wow.
So, and, dude, I don't even remember the original question you asked, and I hope that was some kind of an answer.
It was great.
That was right on the money.
Seriously, though, you went from Boston to the U of A? Like, what prompted that? Like, that seems like a far off
thing. I'm not really sure. But, I can say this. While I was in Boston University, so, this College of Basic Studies thing that I went to, there was another kid from my town who I knew who also was enrolled in this thing. Plus another kid from my town was going to Berklee College of Music, which as it turned out was like right up the street. Now this is in the middle of Boston, but it's right up the street from where my dormitory was in Boston University. And my dormitory was just an old hotel. It was 512 Beacon Street, I think. It was like right on the corner of Beacon Street and Commonwealth Avenue, which are big streets in Boston. And then Berklee was right up the road a few blocks. So I had these friends there too. But another friend that I knew in the College of Basic Studies, his name was Robert, and his girlfriend was going to ASU. So that was kind of the first time I had heard about it, kind of almost like the first time I'd heard of Arizona, let alone thought about it as a place where I may maybe go. But, okay, to answer your question about that, okay, Jack Kerouac is part of what did it. I had read the Dharma Bums, and this is actually like a complicated story, okay? At least for me in my internal life. Jack Kerouac wrote a novel, he wrote On the Road. That's the one everybody's heard of, but he also wrote a book called The Dharma Bums. And The Dharma Bums is about him meeting this kind of logger poet named Jaffe Ryder in the book. And he's this guy from Washington. He climbs these mountains, in the Cascade Mountains and mountains in the Northwest. And he also writes poetry, studies Zen Buddhism and stuff. And, I read this book and I was like, God, this guy's my hero. And just all the stuff he wrote about the, hiking and being in the mountains. And, a lot of it had to do with really making a connection in nature a fundamental part of your life. I mean, that's another big part of it.
Wow.
So I read this book, and it was really, I don't know, it was almost like I became a Kerouac groupie in a certain way. I just wanted to be like this character in the book. And that part of what made me think, okay, I got to get out of New Jersey and go out west. And this was after I'd been to Boston. I'd heard about Arizona State University. And to be perfectly honest, I don't know how I chose the U of A and Tucson to go to. I really didn't know what I was doing or where it was that I was going to. But, again, it was an accident, but it turned out to be a great accident and just, the best place for me to be. But the other thing was this same character, Jaffe Ryder, was based on a real person. His name is Gary Snyder. And I read some of his poems with you guys at different parts of, especially with the seniors and stuff like that. So he was in there in different places. In fact, one year, I can't remember what year it was, but I had like the whole class. We read some of Gary Snyder's poems, and then as a writing exercise, but also just to do it, I had the students write letters to Gary Snyder to talk to him about the poems and stuff, and I stuck them all in an envelope and mailed them to him. And I don't know, a month or two later, he wrote back and he sent the class this just this big printed out picture or printed out version of a poem he'd written. And a handwritten letter to me and to the class and stuff. And I still have them. I'm looking at them right now. But it was cool. And, so I made copies of it for the students to read and stuff like that. It was just cool. Like, these are real people, But this same poet, Gary Snyder's kind of one of my heroes, too, And so, like I said, a lot of the things I read in those books are part of what inspired me to just want to see the West and want to, kind of live that life a little bit. Now, I was not a complete, wanderer with a backpack just hitchhiking all over the West and things like that, but I got my share as far as I'm concerned. But that's how I ended up going from Boston to Arizona as far as that part goes. I mean, and this is weird too. This is kind of it's a bizarre coincidence to me, but while I was living in Boston, and before I'd read the Dharma Bums, I found a book that it was called Turtle Island, and I picked it up and kind of looked at it, and it's like, oh yeah, this looks cool, so I just bought it, but then I never read it. And it's a book of poetry. Well, this book of poetry was by Gary Snyder. It's one of his most famous books, but I hadn't really realized who he was. I just had the thing, and I bought it, and it got tucked away or something like that, and I kind of forgot I had it, and then I read the Dharma Bums, and I was like, hey, wait a second, that's that guy, and I found the book again, and then I read the poems and stuff, so it was weird, and what else is weird is that now I live in freaking Eugene, Oregon, and, he and these other two poets he was really friends with, Gary Snyder, God, no, I'm blanking out on their names, Philip Whalen, and Lou Welsh, they were all friends, and they all went to Reed College, which is in it's in Oregon. I think it's up near Portland and things like that. So, in a way, I just feel like so many things in my life have been connected together, and just different little things that end up. So the fact that I'm now living in Oregon just seems sort of inevitable. Wow. All part of the same Dharma Bums, Gary Snyder, Jaffe Ryder story, and how I got to Tucson and Arizona and Bob McKeevery, and now I'm sitting in my living room talking to you guys.
Wow.
Wow. Did you ever get to see him speak later on?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Yeah. The Tucson, I don't know, I hope they still do it, but Tucson has a poetry festival every year. What? And the very first one, I was still living in Tucson, and I was in college, and I actually I knew I had a poetry teacher, a poet who taught a class that I took for writing poetry, who was reading at the poetry festival, but Gary Snyder was also one of the featured poets to read there. So I'm sitting there on the first day of this festival, and this is in, this old theater downtown in Tucson. I don't know if it's still there or not, but it was a really cool old theater. I think it used to be like a movie theater, and it was, I don't know, just used for like cultural events and stuff like that. But I was sitting in the audience waiting, and I knew Gary Snyder was going to read, but at one point, Gary Snyder and a couple of these like graduate student poets who were, helped organize the readings and stuff like that, they kind of escorted him in, and he sat down right in front of me in the audience. They were just waiting for like things to start and stuff like that. So here's like my idol sitting like literally, I'm staring at the back of his head and stuff like that, and I didn't like talk to him or anything like that. I was just sort of like, oh, holy crap. But it was bizarre, yeah. So yes, I have met him. In fact, I pissed Gary Snyder off one time because another time in Tucson, he did, and this was way after the poetry festival thing, but he gave a reading at a pretty small bookstore, and I couldn't tell you the name of the bookstore at all, but he came to this bookstore. There were only like maybe, I don't know, 30 people there, if that. But he gave this reading there, and I don't know if this was like bad etiquette or what, but I thought I had seen other people do it at poetry readings, and I completely meant it as just pure adulation, like, please do this to me. But I brought every copy of every book of his I owned, which was a pretty sizable pile of books, and I asked him if he would sign them all, right? And, it's like, and the worst part is, I didn't buy the new one that he was there promoting at that reading. I hadn't already bought that one. I just, and I did get it eventually, but I just basically said, hey, you're my idol. Would you sign all these books? And he did it, but you could kind of tell he was a little grumpy about it. And I did the same thing to another poet named Denise Levertov, who I also worship. And, I brought all her books, and she was visibly pissed. I could tell. There was almost steam coming out of her ears. But, whatever. I got all these books that are signed by her now, and I still love her. So, whatever. It's okay.
Awesome.
I'm sure she forgives me. She's passed away. Gary Snyder's still alive, I believe. But, anyway.
Wow.
So that's that, man. Next question.
Cool.
Yeah, sorry, man. I told you, once you get me talking, it's hard to stop me. I know.
I got to see Gary Snyder speak too. He was talking at the Poetry Center.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
cool.
He only reason why I know him is because of you.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
And I think that was the only book. I borrowed that book from you, but that was the only book that you wanted back.
Yeah, I'm a little tight that way. Wow, that's awesome though, man.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy the reading?
Well, one of the cool things that he said was about the mountains in Arizona, where like the mountain doesn't know it's a mountain. So like if you were to go to and talk to it, like it wouldn't know you're talking to it. It's not a mountain, it's all these different elements, and yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you just
inspired by you.
well, I'm glad, and that's maybe part of what we're here for, to inspire each other, man. And any bit of that I was able to do, I'm happy and proud to have done.
Wow.
You just reminded me too of another favorite poet of mine, Robinson Jeffers, and I don't think I ever read this one with you guys. I might have, but he has a poem called "Oh Lovely Rock," where he's camping with his son and a friend of his son, and they're sleeping in this little canyon, and in the middle of the night he throws some wood on this fire just to keep it going, and it lights up, and it just lights up the wall of this canyon wall that they're sleeping beside, and he just kind of contemplates the mountainness of the rock, this rock that's going to be here, long after he and his sons have passed into oblivion, and this granite just is sitting there and having its existence. Basically he just has compassion for the pure existence of this rock, this solid object, and it's just beautiful. It's like one of my favorite poems of all time. It's incredible, and I don't know, it's compassion for a rock. But it's like to me, that's what the best thing that all poetry is about, is to just reaffirm the simple fact that we're connected to everything.
Yeah.
In the universe, everything.
Yeah.
And we're part of the life of everything around us, and to feel any separation from it is, that's what causes real evil. That's to just not understand that.
Good. This is all good stuff. Wow. Well, you're naming all these people. I'm gonna have to go through, and I'm gonna have to listen to this again when we're done.
Well, yes.
Seek it out.
Robinson Jeffers, man. I have my favorite poet is 3 poets: Robinson Jeffers, Dylan Thomas, who hopefully you guys remember, and William Blake, who you might remember too. Wow. But yeah, Robinson Jeffers is amazing, and he wrote a lot of amazing poems that are deeply, again, set in nature. I mean, he's another poet. Gary Snyder was born in Washington State. He lived in Oregon for a while, but he's considered sort of a California poet, and he lives in California. So does Robinson Jeffers. He's been dead forever, but they're again, though, nature poets ultimately, but also just have this, deep kind of tragic sense of existence.
Wow.
So,
wow. I don't know where to go next.
What are you guys up to?
Man, just living my life.
Thinking about the olden days. Before I knew we were going to call today, I was just kind of reminiscing. I was thinking of the podium.
Oh, yeah.
We had, and just had all the stickers.
Yeah, gee,
over the years.
Whatever happened to that podium?
Oh.
You tell us, I don't know.
No, dude, I got it.
Yeah.
I still have it.
Oh, you do?
It's in my cellar. That podium actually, I thought long and hard about that, because what I was afraid might happen is that some new teacher would come along and maybe tear off some bumper stickers or do something, and it would upset somebody, and it would just be, I didn't want it to become the scene of a I don't know, bad incident. So I figured the best thing to do is take it, and I've preserved it in its natural state. So
wow.
It's I got some spiders living in it right now, but other than that, it's pretty much the same one.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. Okay. So let's see. What made you? What? Like you said, Bobo was the only people that answered yes. We're gonna hire you.
Yeah.
But why? Why'd you go out there? Why'd you come out here? You were already in Tucson. You were from Boston. What?
Yeah.
What brought you out to our res? Just to even apply? What brought you out there?
I was always interested in the native cultures. I mean, even when I was back in New Jersey, we learned about the Lenni Lenape, the tribe also known as the Delaware, who lived in, both in parts of Manhattan and New Jersey, and around. It was a very big, people, and I don't know. I just always had a sense of it was important to know, and also, okay, dude, I'm going to go full bore here.
Okay.
I don't believe in reincarnation officially, okay? I wouldn't say that I believe in that. But there are two things that I've felt my entire life that I almost feel are definitely true, but, there's no way to prove it. One is that I was a monk in medieval Ireland, and my father was another monk in the same monastery with me. Now, that's just probably some weird fantasy that I had when I was a teenager, but it's like an idea, because I've always had this strong affinity for medieval history and for Irish and Celtic history, and just have this feeling like it was true, and it's been just that time and that place, and my father, throughout that, and I know a lot of that came up because my father and I didn't get along really well when I was a teenager. I was raised Catholic, and he was a pretty devout Catholic and things like that. And so it seemed like it made sense if I was looking for an explanation for why my father and I were, now in this kind of power struggle, and what could have been our connection previous to that, right? So, I'm just saying that's something I've thought my whole life. The other thing is that I have always had this really powerful sense of having lived in colonial North America around the time of the middle of the 1700s, during the French and Indian War, 7 Years' War, and that I was somehow living there, and that also translated into a strong sense of connection to the native people who were living there, as well, and just what was going on. And beyond that, I mean, just the sheer horrors and injustice of Native American history.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So all those things were important to me. And like when I was going to become a teacher, this seemed like a great opportunity to know more. And living in Arizona, it was just amazing. And how I ended up specifically in cells, that's a hard one. It just, again, it happened, and it was lucky, and it was just one of the greatest things that ever happened. So, it's magic, But again, it's part of this whole sense of sort of inevitability of stuff that just seems to be important to me, and like a theme in my life that just worked out there, and I'm just really grateful. I'm really grateful that it worked out the way it did, and that I got to be there and know people like Danny Lopez. I mean, I don't know. I was just so humbled and honored every day I worked there, and I loved what I was doing, and it was precious, just the precious experience of my life, So I don't know.
Wow.
So what were the years you were at Bible? Like, from what year to what year?
Yeah. Good
Okay,
question.
I'm pretty sure 1989 to 2006.
Wow.
So yeah, so 17 years altogether. Danloe was there, I think, 21 years. But anyway, yeah, those are the years. The 90s, the 90s, and a little of the turn of the century.
Wow.
Wow.
What year did you guys graduate?
I was 05.
Yeah, I was
05, okay. So yeah, that's right, yeah. So that was like one of the last graduating classes. But
yeah. No, that was... I think back on that time, and, I just really grateful to be able to, hang around you my last year, because...
Yeah.
I was ready. I was ready to get out of high school because I wanted to be done with it. But
yeah,
I still had to go through that process. But to know, you were gonna be there, and I had you. I was your teacher aide, and I had you for humanities. It was like any kind of time I can get with Harty. That's a good time. So you kind of got me through that.
Well, I'm glad.
Last year,
I did, man. High school's hard, man. Being a teenager's hard.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I felt like I was 17 my whole life. Okay, I still feel like I'm 17. And the reason for that isn't because I'm full of youthful energy. The reason for that is because when I was 17, I feel like I finally started to understand who I was. I started to realize what my mission in life might be. I don't know, I just remember what not being accepted and not being understood was like when you were a teenager. And I wanted to help people through that time if I could too, because I just enjoy it, man. You guys kept me young, I mean, I've worked with young people literally my whole life, and it's been just great because it's kept me kind of in touch with the real vitality of life. I just know a lot of my friends, people that I grew up with, who, you know, just got really old. You know, it's not in their body, I mean that too, but just in their heads, you know. And you guys have let me do that, and I appreciate it.
Man. Trying to make me cry over here or something, man? Come on.
Why not, man? Cry all you want. The world is a sad place, but there's joy too, man. You know?
Wow. This, taking it all in here, I'm listening to you, and, man, it's getting me choked up. I've been thinking about you too, and, you know, knowing, we're finally going to get you on here. And you know, I'll say this, like, out of all our teachers, like, your just your classroom, your vibe, whatever it was like a safe place. Every time, I'm getting choked up. You know, I was thinking about it. I was going back through my head, like, Harty, and I remember one time, I think I got in a fight or an argument or something, like right before your class, and I went in and, like, you just dialed me down. Like, you sought me out and you talked me down and you made me, like, smooth again. There was whatever it was, your vibe, you created an environment of, like, safety and comfort in your classroom, and, you know. Yes, I mean, I was trying to think of all the things that I've taken from your class. Like, you know, we were supposed to be learning, you know, English, you know, humanities, like Sky said. And I was like, man, there's, like, automatopoeia, you know, denouement, foreshadowing. I remember all your lists on the wall, but what I really took wasn't that. It wasn't English. Whatever it was, I don't know, it was a vibe that you brought, and you know, the music, you play the music like nobody did that. No other teacher did that. Like, you just had this really good vibe. Whenever I was in Harty's class, you know, I felt okay. I felt safe. I felt good, and it was a vibe. Your vibe, whatever it was.
You're making me cry now, you know.
I know, I'm getting choked up, man. It's kind of embarrassing.
Don't be embarrassed. You know. Well, listen, I always wanted my classroom to feel kind of like, you know, a living room, if it could, you know, with those hard seats and stuff. But, you know, I had a few couches over the time, but they usually got all tagged up and destroyed. But, you know, it was always, I felt at home there, man, and I mean, I felt so accepted by you guys, too, you know. I mean, just don't ever underestimate your own contribution to the whole situation, because you guys let me be who I am. Just a simple fact of, I don't know, the way the school ran, I had so much freedom. I didn't even really realize how much freedom I had. I mean, I did, but I couldn't have fully appreciated it because I'd never worked without it anywhere else. But, you know, I just created my own curriculum that, you know, from dealing with students and just figuring out, okay, what's going to work, what are people going to enjoy and get something from. And, you know, dude, the thing is, English should be life. It's about life, you know. It's about how to live and how to appreciate being alive. And it's the biggest thing, and the single most important lesson or point of all literature is that you're not the only one. You're not alone. We all have these inner lives. We all feel afraid. We all feel scared sometimes. We all feel, you know, love and confusion. You know, none of that stuff is just you. And just understanding that you can live a life through another character to learn something more about yourself. I mean, that's the value in it. Learning grammar and stuff is fine and well, and learning how to write a coherent letter is great, but, you know, learning how to be a human being, and you know, you guys remember Bashka?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like Bashka? Well, we used to have this thing all the time, because this is right around the time when, in the 90s was when charter schools and privatizing schools was starting to happen. And I was I mean, to me, two huge turning points in just American political life in general were when prisons and schools were becoming privatized. In other words, state governments were just saying, oh, well, you know, whatever, you guys do it, run it like a business and stuff like that, which is just not what it should be, you know, and the humanities, I guess, squishy side of education, you know, art and music and literature classes are just getting squeezed out in the name of just passing standardized tests and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what education is supposed to be. It's supposed to make you a full human being, not make you an automaton that can sit in a cubicle and, you know, sort things all day, you know, with like a mindless drone. It's meant to make you a full human being.
Yes.
That's what education should really be. And that's what I wanted it to be for you guys. I just wanted to, you know, anything I could contribute to you. And you know, honestly, I mean, you guys remember watching The Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And do you remember the way you may have groaned when you found out it was a black and white movie made in like 1936 or something like that? But it's a great movie, man. And I saw it when I was about the same age as you guys were when I showed it to you, and it just sort of changed something for me, you know? I mean, and Charles Lawton, the guy who plays Quasimodo, there's been like 5 or 6 versions of that movie. That's the only one worth watching. I've watched some of the others, and they're crappy as hell. But I don't know, it's a great movie. Even, you know, whatever, you can pick it apart and say, you know, it's got this and that, but it's just a great movie that can make a great impact. So, I mean, I was passing along milestones from my own life to you guys as much as I could, just to help you all in your own quest for meaning, you know, for purpose, and a sense of, you know, why you do whatever you end up doing, you know, why do you do it? What are you trying to fulfill in yourself? You know, we all have needs, and we all need meaning. I mean, human beings need meaning in their lives as much as they need oxygen and water, you know, and without it, you know, bad stuff happens to people. So I'm grateful that you feel that way, and that you remember my classroom that way, and, you know, I was hoping for that. I wanted it to be a safe place, and a place where everyone had the right to imagine anything, but their own lives especially, you know, just whatever could be the greatest possibilities of their own lives. That's what education should offer people the opportunity to pursue, you know, I mean, in a perfect world, but it's not perfect. Right. And education has it's been taking a beating for years. But, I don't know.
Wow. You know, I think like that style of teaching is I almost didn't get that same feeling until like college, because it almost seems like high school we're just not even scratching the surface. So, but like, I remember going to college and still being able to pull stuff you had already shown us. So like, it stuck, but I get that same way to where, but I was also watching you just as a person. And I think it was just, you were just, I mean, maybe you describe yourself as a hippie, and that might be a general description to, if I was looking for somebody, if I was looking for you, I'd say, oh, he's a hippie guy. So, like, I thought you were the coolest dude ever. Yeah. And I just remember one time it was a field trip, but like you had the van, and we drove to one of your coffee spots, and this was before anybody had coffee spots. You had yours. Yeah. And you ordered us coffee, and you told the lady, put it on my tab. And I had only seen that in movies. You had done it in real life, so it was just like, again, you're like, that's my hero, man. This guy. Well,
I'm flattered, and I think I know the coffee place you're talking about, and that was like one of the only places my whole life where I could have said that, man, because I knew the guy who ran that place, and I had actually known him from the cafe he had run before that one. And yeah, we weren't exactly friends, but we were very friendly with each other. I really liked the guy, Tom was his name, and anyway, yeah. I'd always wanted to be able to say stuff like that too, but you know.
Wow.
But
yeah, I'm thinking about your class some more, and I feel a little bad that, you know, I didn't, like I said, I took other stuff from you. It wasn't English, like, you know, we like for the rest of my life, foreshadowing. I see some point in a movie and foreshadowing, like, I don't know why that word stuck out in my mind. Like, I see it, I'm like, ooh, foreshadowing, you know, and it was because of you, like, and that's it, like just, I probably learned like 5 major words that I still use now because of your class, but it wasn't that I kept. It was like, yeah, like Sky said, you had a vibe. You had a vibe, and I think everybody who knew you or who had your class, like, felt it and, you know, fed off it, and just kind of, we felt good. Like whoever, you know, whenever, if we're in your class or around you, it was nice. And like you said, I'm going to ask you in a second about hippiness, but like, you know, being a hippie, because you said it and we've heard it and all that, but like, but man,
you're welcome to ask me anything you want.
Yeah. There's that. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like I started writing like for myself in your class, and it was like right before we graduated. Like we all knew we had already passed. You know, we all knew that it was time to go on to our next thing. You know, we all knew we were graduating, so it was like. We were just, it was just, you know, it was like waiting out the clock. Like, we were just, you know, in your class, sitting there, and, like, I felt, I don't know if it was the environment or what, but I started doing my first actual writing, and it was in your class. And I think it was your environment. Whatever it was you, man. You're blowing my mind with all this stuff you're saying. Like, I didn't know any of this about you. I just knew the vibe, and now I'm finding out kind of where it's coming from. The writing, and you had a love for writing long before you started teaching English writing. You know, it was. I got choked up again. I was sitting here listening to you talk like about education, and we've been bringing this up whenever we talk with you guys, like Wes and Danloe. It was like, how do you feel about the way, you know, education's going, and for you to say what you just said, like about automatons and all that, you got me choked up, man. I was sitting here just breathing heavy, like I said, man, we got you on the phone, and my heart started racing, you know, and now about to get choked up again here, and now we got you on the phone and we're talking, and it sounds fantastic that you believe. I can feel it from your voice and how you're talking, how strongly you believe these feelings that you're talking about. And man, it makes me kind of feel sad for the kids that don't get to have you as their teacher. Like, it's you brought something with you, whatever it was. You brought it, and for, you know, what'd you say, 88, 89, what'd you say it was? It was like 89?
Yeah, I think it was 89. 89
for that short time, we were lucky to have you. It was like the school, the people, the tribe, we were all, I'm getting choked up again, we were all better off to have you around. It was...
Well, listen, I want you to know that, and I said this to Wes a couple of times, and Wes said the same thing to me a couple of times, but I could not believe how lucky I was, and I couldn't believe that I got paid for having as much fun as I had when I was at barbecuing, man. I mean, I loved it. I loved every day that I was there, and it was never the same. I mean, I was never bored, not for a second. You know, you never knew how any day was going to go, but it was always, you know, I mean, some of them were pretty tough, but overall, man, it was wonderful, and I'm grateful. I'm just grateful. And, you know, this is just another one of those things. I mean, education is important to me, and I didn't realize how important it was to me until I was there, honestly. I mean, I'd found it for myself, and like I said, one of the things that happened when I was 17 was that I just started reading a lot, and reading books that, you know, I hadn't heard of before, and that were completely just new to me, and it was just like an adventure. And, you know, like I told you, I failed biology, and I used to sit. They used to have these huge lectures for our classes. We had different sized classes. We'd have like a big lecture that would bring like all the students in the class together, but then they'd be broken down into smaller sections other times of the week. But I would sit in the front row at this big lecture class in biology and just read novels and stuff while the teacher was talking literally right in front of me. And I didn't do it to be a jerk. I wasn't trying to insult the teacher or anything like that, but I don't know. It was weird because I was like screwing off and doing something productive at the same time. I think I kind of confused a lot of the teachers. But yeah, I mean, it is important, man. And there's so much destructive force out in the world, you know. You know, eating away at that part of what education should be. I mean, I don't know. I just feel bad for young people right now because I think they're being robbed of so much. I mean, this pandemic has been just fucking devastating, but there's just so much terrible things going on in the world right now. Yeah. I mean, anybody who's got to grow up in this and then try to figure out what to do. Yeah. I don't know. I'm sad for the world a lot. You know, Danloe and I, when he called me the other day, we were both, we both just had the same kind of worries and just concerns, you know. There's just so many bad things going on right now, and you know, young people who are just coming into this, you know, I don't know. I just feel like I have to apologize to every child in the world. If somebody should, you know.
Yeah.
But again, you know, I'm glad that if I provided that for you guys, I'm very grateful. And believe me, I was amply rewarded for whatever I did. I learned so much, and I loved everything I learned, and I valued it, and you know, including working 3 days at the rodeo with the senior class 1 year, and you know, just all those things, you know. Best cowboy coffee I ever had was that same weekend at the rodeo, man. One of the moms made this big, you know, old metal enameled pot of coffee, and it was so awesome. And then I had the freshest gem that I ever ate in my life. You know, I watched these people making it and cooking it, and I ate it right off the little dome-shaped griddle and stuff like that, man. That was just great, man. I mean, you guys fulfilled a lifelong dream for me. I mean, you don't realize that, but I mean, I got to experience something that I had only dreamt of experiencing, was just, you know, Native in America. You know? I've been so lucky, man. I mean, I've gotten to experience so many amazing things, and believe me, you guys are a gigantic part of that, you know? And like I said, I'm just grateful.
Wow. You got me whimpering over here. I'm like trying to be quiet.
You know, don't worry about it. I mean, you know, listen, this is another thing, you know, and like, when the pandemic had first started and the lockdowns were just starting all over, I called up Danloe for the first time in quite a while, and it was just great. And, you know, it was like, Steve and I just had this really great bond and sense of shared purpose and mission, and the fact that we did that research paper with you guys for years and years was, I don't know, it was just great. Then, we went on Danloe's gigantic backpacking parties to the Black River and stuff too. I was just so lucky to work. I mean, the other teachers I work with, and Danloe and Wesh and just, all the other teachers that I work with there, it was just a great sense of camaraderie and just that you were doing something important and valuable, I never went home feeling like I had wasted that day. I always felt like, if anything, I wanted to give more, because it's like so rewarding to do what I had already done, I don't know. It was great. So, I don't know.
I think it was, like, it's a challenge for teachers, because they gotta, kids don't want to be there from the beginning, but to actually get kids to want to be there, because what you're going to be teaching them that day is, beneficial or exciting, that's already a challenge from the start. So, I mean, I just remember wanting to go to your class, because whether you were sharing, because I remember you talking a lot about your childhood too. I mean, I think I always remember the story of you going out for, I think, JV or football, and I was just hearing those stories, and I was like, you were a role model, and maybe I just didn't realize it at the time, but it was always a treat to just kind of, hear what you were teaching that day. So, you got us to want to go to school.
Yeah. You did.
Well, like I said, I was having fun every minute, man. And I mean, that was, I liked being able to, use my own life as an example if I ever could, and just to let everybody know I was a human being, first of all, and that, things are a struggle. Like I said about literature, man, you're not the only one. We all have these things to deal with, and we can help each other deal with them. That's what human beings can do for each other, recognize each other's struggles and possibilities and questions, and allow people to ask those questions, I mean, a lot of it's just accepting where things are and asking questions. I mean, all knowledge starts with questions, and being able to ask questions is just fundamental. And I don't know. And I know a lot of teachers have a hard time kind of relating. And, a lot of teachers, I think, are scared, kind of. They feel a lot of pressure. I mean, my first or second year teaching, somebody told me, the most stressful jobs were air traffic controller, surgeon, and public school teacher, in that order, and it is. It's just really stressful, because there's so many different forces that you feel are watching you or expecting things from you, and you yourself. Dude, I remember, I think it was my first year teaching. At one point, I was starting a lesson, and it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys know enough about vinyl records, but sometimes the needle just kind of skips off the grooves and there's nothing going on anymore. I was in the middle of starting this class, and all of a sudden my brain just started teasing me and saying, "You don't know what you're doing. You have no idea where this is going to end up, do you?" And I just had this mini panic attack for a second. It's like I lost control of the car for a second. I was skidding, and I had to steer into it and correct myself. And I don't think any of the students ever saw this on my face or anything like that. But I mean, the point is, every day is sort of a performance, and you have to, be up to it and be I don't know, just nimble, but you know, it can be really fun, but it's just stressful, and getting it to where you do it kind of naturally is, I think, I don't know, the ideal people look for, you know, and I don't know, and it was fun. But it was always fun, and like I said, I was always learning and things like that. So,
man,
I don't know.
Oh no, that's a lot of good times.
Yeah, they were.
A lot of Bob Marley.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And Ziggy too.
Yeah, I was thinking Ziggy.
And you know, that was like, reggae was like the only thing I could play for sure that wouldn't sometimes somebody would want me to play a rap tape, and it would just get everybody too excited or something, or too distracted. But reggae was always just like perfect, man. People would just kind of focus and relax, and things would always go well. I don't know.
Good call. No, that's.
I really learned to love reggae there too. You know.
Wow.
I also love knowing that the big. Go ahead. What?
You weren't jamming reggae before that?
Not a whole lot. I kind of knew a little, but I don't know. I remember a student brought me a Bob Marley tape that I'd never heard before, and let me make a copy of it to play in class and stuff too. So yeah, no, I kind of, that was one of the many things I learned working there. So
wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I kind of got into this with Danloe a little bit, and I'm curious what you're gonna say.
Okay.
There's this whole kind of I think what we as kids or your students don't realize all the time when we're going to school is that you're a kid too at some point. You know, you guys were young dudes or late men and women, whatever. And you guys had lives after school. Like we knew you as our teacher, but you know, when the clock goes down, Danloe was saying, you know, he'd be grading, but like I'm just kind of curious, what kind of afterlife did you have, like after school, outside of school? What'd you do to cut loose?
Well, a lot of it wasn't cutting loose. It was just like going home and making dinner.
Yeah.
And God, let me think, because I got divorced pretty early on working there, so I was a bachelor, you know, and I don't know, I would just chill out, man. I didn't do a whole lot. I was pretty. I'm not an exciting guy, so I was like going out and having adventures all the time. I'd go hiking and things like that. Honestly, yeah, I would go out into the like the Rincon Mountains and the Santa Rita Mountains, especially, and hike around and things like that. But I don't know. Not a whole lot that probably counts as cutting loose in any big way.
What about like the parties? You guys, I know that the teachers would gather sometimes. Like you get into that at all?
Are you trying to get me to confess to something?
Yeah, I tried to get.
Yes, there were parties, and you know what? Teachers are notorious for that kind of thing, you know, for just, you know, because look, like I said, it's a lot of stress, man, and, you know, and so, yeah, teachers would get together maybe sometimes at that Wildcat House and stuff, I don't know, well, and like, Danloe always had a Christmas party and an end-of-the-year party, and those are always just a lot of fun, you know. Now, it wasn't like, you know, I don't know what kind of images around in your minds, but it wasn't like a crazy thing. We were dancing around, you know, with like leaves on our head and stuff like that, with big goblets of wine and everything. It was, you know, it was a bunch of adults sitting around blowing on steam and cracking each other up, especially good, and telling stories too, man. You know, I mean, every teacher's got a million stories about things that happened and stuff like that. So, you know, just that kind of things. Plus, Danloe knows everybody from like the very beginning of Bobby Cavery High School. So there would be people there I'd never even met, and like John Bryson, who was the English teacher who I replaced, I actually met at Steve's parties and stuff like that. And he was a great guy, and he became a lawyer and things, I think. So, you know, be that kind of thing, but nothing too crazy.
That's cool. That's cool.
I mean, the really crazy stuff happened on the bus driving back home in the afternoons. Do you guys remember Mr. Reese?
Yes.
Yeah, he would. He published the what was it called, the Bus Bugle, this little newsletter that made up funny stories about other teachers, and a lot of times there were songs and things like that. So I mean, we would goof around a lot on the bus and just talk, and I don't know, crack each other up as much as we could. But
you think you got any of those left over? Those old newsletters?
I have a couple. Yeah. I think I do. Like, there was one that had a whole bunch of Christmas carols in it. You know, like they would use the tunes of traditional Christmas carols, but then it would have lyrics made up usually about teachers at the schools. And I don't know. I think I have that one somewhere, though. I'm not sure where, but I'm pretty sure. Don Reese probably has every single one he ever published. He was pretty good about that. But they're still out there somewhere, man. Danloe has some probably too. But I don't know. But you know, like I said, there's a real camaraderie, especially in a smaller school, where just pretty much everybody knows everybody, and you know, you want to help each other out and things like that. And teaching's a hard job, you know, and you know, it was just good to have people that understood, you know, what you might be dealing with and how to help you with it and things like that. So, you know, it was just, yeah. Like I said, nothing too crazy as far as stories go or anything like that.
In my mind, it was like a Scarface-sized pile of cocaine.
No, nothing like that.
I'm kidding.
Sorry, no little friends or shootouts either, man. No, definitely not a Scarface.
Oh, God. Okay.
Wait. So, Harty, you were a teacher at you taught in Sales as well? Because I just got you in Tapala.
Right.
Well, the high school is down there, right?
Yeah. When I started out, I mean, it was in Sales, and then, oh God, I don't remember the year, but yeah, we moved down to Tapala. And at first that seemed like a big deal. That was also when we started doing year-round school and things like that. And I don't know. I mean, I ended up really liking working at Tapala and stuff like that. But yeah, we started out at the other one. And I don't know, this is the second time I've just kind of flashed on this, but I remember one morning when we were at the old school in Cells, I had this classroom that I think used to be like an office, and it had two windows, which was like a huge luxury at Bobby Cavery High School. And, you know, one looked out on this little breezeway. I don't know if you guys remember you weren't there, but there was like a breezeway, and then the teacher's lunchroom was right across there, and this window I had looked out there. And it was just cool. I mean, nobody else had a window at their classroom. I don't remember how I ended up with that room, but I think nobody else wanted it because they were afraid my kids would look through the window and distract their classes and stuff like that, which did happen, but I always thought it was funny. There's this one student, I don't remember his name, but he walked up to the window one time and he put his mouth on the glass and he could blow his cheeks up like a bullfrog. It was hilarious. And he just stood there and did that for like 10 minutes at me one day, and it was cracking me up the whole time. But anyway. The other thing was, I'm sorry, I forgot. So that same room, one morning, there'd been a really bad rainstorm, and I came into my classroom one morning. It was like still cloudy and it was still kind of raining and stuff like that. But the whole room was flooded because the drains on the roof had gotten clogged up, and so all this water just came through the ceiling. So there was like 2 inches of water in certain parts of the floor and stuff like that. That was, I don't know, that was the start of one of my days.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty intense. But
did you ever have any kind of trouble with other teachers, or maybe a principal, or maybe even the school board? You ever have any trouble like that?
Wow, you're trying to lure me into something here, huh? With controversy. What do you have in mind?
I don't know.
You have any particular scenario in mind? Name names, man. Give me specifics here. I'll tell you.
We got to hear.
I mean, look, of course, there were moments that there might have been some friction. I mean, I generally got along with all the teachers fine. Now, there were disagreements here and there, sure. You know, a couple of episodes, but I'm not going to go into that. But I don't know. As far as I never had a problem with the school board.
Never, huh?
Never. In fact, you know, I mean, this is one of the coolest things about working there is that I mean, I knew the students that were the children of the members of the school board, you know, and I got to know a lot of them personally and stuff. So, it was really intimate and friendly, you know,
nice
to work there. You know, and it was like somebody once asked me, and you know, I didn't stay as long as I could have, but somebody asked me if how long I would stay there, and I'd say, well, I'd stay here until your kids are going here. Yeah. And that actually did end up happening while I was still there. That I had a student who was a senior who was a child of a student I'd had my first year there. You know, so it was actually kind of cool.
Wow.
That part worked out.
Yeah. No, I think what I also remember too is like you were a good mediator with when stuff was out of your control, and you kind of relaying the information to us. Like we felt your frustrations, like the man telling us what to do, or like a scheduling thing, or even with the aims, whatever test we were taking back then. You know, it was like if it conflicted with our schedule, you know, and it bothered you, like we knew, but you were also professional about it, to where like we kind of had to like follow your lead, and I think that taught us a lot too, like growing up. Like, you know, sometimes you gotta just play ball just to you know, keep the wheel moving. But so handling a lot of that. It's all on you, man.
Well, I know I tried to talk to, you know, different students at different times who were having an issue with somebody or other, and you know, and I know this is never a satisfying answer really, but it's still true that, you know, your whole life you're going to have to deal with people you don't like. You know, you're going to have to deal with people that think differently than you, that just don't understand the same picture of the world as you do, and it sucks, but I don't know, if you can find a way to get through without losing it, and you know, and sometimes you're pushed to a point where you have to stand your ground and you have to, you know, cause a ruckus. If you can get through it without too much damage, that's great, but you know, things happen, so it's hard, but you know, I'm sure you guys have had to deal with lots of things like that yourselves now, you know. How old are you guys now, anyway?
35.
35?
Yeah.
30, around there.
I'm actually about to be 36. Yeah.
Dang. My daughter just turned 36. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just adjusting my reality right now, man. Sorry. Like, you know, look, I'm pretty crusty right now. I'm pretty old, man. But, you know, you guys are all still, you know, seniors in high school in my mind, you know. I can picture both of you right now. Yeah, I know. Like you were, you know, when you were seniors. Take me a second or two to get used to thinking you was 35, but yeah, I don't know. Time just blows my mind because it's amazing. I mean, I remember things that happened 50 years ago, you know? Yeah. Clearly. Yeah. You know, and that's just crazy to me. But, you know, it happens. You guys are getting there too. I mean, I was that age when I was working there, you know, and I don't know. It's wild.
Yeah, I can for some reason my memory of you is like you rushing around. You know, like in a hurry, like between classes or whatever, just kind of just hustling along. you're always kind of a small guy. I'm not trying to say, oh, your stature. You had this. I don't know. You had this big personality, but I remember you always being the smaller guy, and like you'd be rushing along, like going by. You had this like gait to yourself, like.
Yep.
There was like the more I'm trying to like remember and think and of you and all my experiences and like I think I was telling Sky before we taught, before we turned on the phone, before we called each other, I was telling him that. Like I said, I took more from you than like outer stuff. I took more cues of being a human kind of stuff. Like it wasn't so much English, and I feel a little bad for that. Like I didn't take a whole bunch of English from your class. I took personality. I took. I think there was even a time where we were, like, I always go back to this. We read, like, 12 Angry Men. And there was this whole line, he doesn't speak good English or something like that. Like, oh, you don't need to speak good English. Yeah. And I remember you used to, like, do the kind of New York accent. And I was like, that's what I remember. Like this positivity of yours, the music, this environment, and, I'm sorry, I didn't take much English from you, but I did take something. You sent us.
Please don't apologize, because listen, when I think back at teachers that meant a lot to me, it's kind of the same way. I mean, there might be factual things too, but it was also just the sort of, I don't know, the personal connection. And like my freshman English teacher, and I honestly kind of modeled myself on him a lot. He was this guy named John Kazanjian, and his sister was actually a classmate of mine, but he was several years older than her, so he was teaching, and it's weird. They were like a whole family. His dad was like a physics teacher in the same high school that I went to, but John Kazanjian taught freshman English, and he was crazy. I mean, I couldn't believe I'd never had a teacher who acted like him before. He was so lively and fun and always smiling, and everything we learned, I just remember things because it was fun to be in his classroom, because I felt good to be there, and it was like the bright spot in an otherwise dismal day. I mean, God, it's really literally true. I couldn't tell you another single teacher I had as a freshman, but John Kazanjian, I always think of. And, and I had a teacher in college named, I'm blanking out on his name, Canfield, Douglas Canfield. And I modeled my teaching on him a lot, too, because he was just a really, again, lively teacher who, had a lot to get across, but it was, fun to learn from him, and, hey, you remember foreshadowing, and you probably remember a lot more than that, too, more than you realize, and, just the fact that you wanted to write for yourself and that you get, satisfaction and better understanding of yourself from doing that, man, that means everything to me, and I'm glad, if it had anything to do with that, I'm grateful and humble, so,
wow.
It's the feelings that we create in each other that really last, I mean, the other stuff, it's probably still in there, but,
Yeah.
You remember the way you felt when you were in some place that again, help you get meaning in your life, and help you feel like whatever you were doing was valuable, and, I don't know, it's, that's what you remember when you're old.
Yeah. I think it was with Sky that we were saying. I think it was with Sky. I was talking with somebody, and we were saying, I tried harder. I tried to do my work harder. I tried to do a better job, and I was usually because I respected you so much. I was like. We had other teachers. We had all these different teachers, and if they're listening, I can tell them I liked them. They were great. We had some good teachers, and we'll have them on. But yeah, like I was saying, I always worked harder and tried to do better for you. It was like I was doing it for you because I respected you, and I think that makes all the difference in the world, because some you don't, and then you just kind of slack off in their class. But it was like you, I think it was a sharing of respect, maybe, that you treated us like we were people. You know, it wasn't like, oh, I'm the teacher, you're the student. It wasn't anything like that. It was, if I was having a crummy day, you'd pull me aside and talk to me, and like, you know, and I would feel better. I'd leave your class feeling better. So whenever I had the opportunity to give back in some form, a sign of respect, I did it. I worked harder. I tried harder because of you. It was like I don't know. That's it, right? That's the goal, I guess. Because I always felt that about you. There was if I messed up, I felt bad. You know, if I was doing something wrong, I felt bad for you. It was like there was a respect there, and I cared what you thought. You know, and I don't think I always felt that way about all the teachers there, but for you, I did.
Well, that's part of what I meant about, you know, I think sometimes teachers are afraid of sharing too much of themselves, you know, and I don't know, I don't know, it felt like the right thing to do. You know, and you know, all teachers put a lot of themselves into what they do, and you know, I don't know, man, it felt like that was the point of teaching, and again, it was a lot because you guys let me, you know, be who I was, and I tried to do the same for you guys. I remember one student, one afternoon, I don't know what I was doing, but I was out in the hallway, and I think she had something go wrong with someplace or other. But anyway, she said, "Harty, the only teacher who gets kids." Now, that's not true. I know other teachers get kids, but I mean, I never assumed anything but that you guys were young people, you know, facing a complicated world, and you know, I just sympathize with that, man. It's hard, and one of the things I don't know if I ever said this to you guys. I think I did at some point, but I always considered myself sort of an ambassador to adulthood for you guys. In other words, to give you warning about what it's going to be like, but also try to, you know, in any way possible, prepare you for what the world was going to throw at you, you know, and what you are going to face, you know, as a grown-up, you know, as a husband or a wife or a parent, or, you know, student in the future or employee. There's just all these challenges, you know, and I just don't always feel like adults always prepare young people as well as they could for what the world's really like. I don't know. I felt that way myself. I felt like I had been thrown out into the world without adequate warning about how people could be. And I just wanted to not let that happen for you guys. I mean, I honestly think a lot of adults spend a lot of their adult life, especially with their own children, but, you know, other young people they may encounter, trying to make up for the deficiencies of their own childhood. In other words, just not let the same slip-ups happen to these new young people that happened to them when they were young people, you know, and I don't know. And like I said, man, I was having fun. I just enjoyed knowing everybody there and being part of that community. I have never, ever felt more part of a real community than I did when I worked at Bobby Curie and, you know, knew so many of the people, not just students, but, you know, their families too, on the res, you know. It was great. It was great. And I mean, I can't just say enough how much I got out of it and how grateful I am for that whole experience, you know.
Wow.
And I'm just honored if, you know, anything I helped do for you guys, I'm grateful and honored that I was able to.
Wow. Humble, very humble.
Yeah.
I just lost track of thought here. I feel like I need to bring something up that, like, you know, there's people that are gonna be listening to this and they're thinking about you and they're like, man, like, why didn't they ask him that? You know, why didn't they ask him about that? I don't like, it's my duty to try and draw more out of you, you know. But I
absolutely, man, go for it.
I'm at a loss here because I'm just like, I'm sitting here smiling and I don't know what else to ask. I'm just at a loss. Like,
well, we've been talking a while now, haven't we, man?
Well, how about
I've kind of lost track of time.
Yeah, I got it. What are you doing now? Because I think I've told you this about 3 times now. In my mind, you're like living Stephen King. You know, you're out in the woods in a cabin writing, like just writing. Like what are you doing these days?
Wow, I wish I was doing that. I'm not in the woods. I'm in the middle of downtown Eugene.
Oh.
I live in this little house. It's literally it's not a tiny house like they make now, where it's just basically a very small house, but it's a tiny house. And it's in downtown Eugene, in the kind of the fringe of this neighborhood called the Whitaker neighborhood, which, you know, it's kind of sketchy, to be honest. There's a huge homeless camp like 2 blocks away from me. My house is on an alley, and my address is actually it's 541 and a half Lawrence Street.
Oh.
I've always thought half addresses were really cool, and I have one now. And I also have always loved alleys. One of the things I loved the most about Tucson was the alleys, but now I live on an alley. But 2 blocks down, literally down the same alley, there's this huge skate park and it's supposedly like the biggest skate park in the United States or something like that. And it's built under these overpasses that, you know, it's just like a highway that comes down into the downtown area. But because of the fires that happened a couple of years ago here, and just the simple fact that there's just so many homeless people in Eugene and in Oregon, there's this huge camp of tents, and, you know, they put out porta potties and stuff, and there's people that have just been living there for months on end, man, and the weather's been horrible lately. So it's not the woods, but it's definitely reality. And you know, as far as what else I'm doing, I do try to write a lot, but I've been working. The last job I had was in a group home, and it was really the first permanent job I got since Bobby Kivri. I substituted a little bit, and I applied at high schools in Oregon, but I never got hired anywhere. And so I ended up working at this group home, which had guys who had been in jail for one reason or another. Usually they're about, you know, somewhere around 13, 14 years old. And this was sort of like the end of their period of being in the system, and they were getting ready to go out and, you know, get jobs and try to not commit any other crimes and stay out of jail. And I actually really liked it. I mean, it was a lot like teaching in some ways. Then these are guys that usually hadn't done really well in school and had a hard time. A lot of them had dropped out or were getting GEDs and things like that. But, you know, a lot of it was like just working with them and trying to show them how life is, because, I mean, they had really been grown up in a system where they just get institutionalized, where, you know, they're literally in like jail, and they have people telling them what to do 24 hours a day, you know, when to eat, when to get dressed, and when to do everything. And now they're suddenly going to just be out and free, and it freaked a lot of the guys out. I mean, so it was just a matter of adjusting and getting them used to it. I mean, I would help these guys get their first job, you know, their first job ever, and they feel so proud of themselves to, you know, just be able to do that. And a lot of them really had to struggle, because just being able to get up and get ready and go to work every day was a challenge in itself. And I don't know, but so I worked there for like 9 years, and they just closed. I mean, I'd still be working there now, except for I'm not sure why, but the director of the program just shut it down in November. So basically, since the middle of November, I was looking for a new job. I didn't really want to go on unemployment if I could, so I just tried to start applying. And I wanted to work for this organization called Cahoots. And I don't know, they got a little famous a couple of summers ago when the Black Lives Matter protests were happening after the George Floyd murder, and they were talked about in like national news as an alternative to police responding to like mental health crises and even some drug overdose kind of situations and stuff like that. So, you know, they're not cops, they're not exactly medics, but they're trained in medical stuff. But they're like crisis intervention people. They try to help people and either get them to the hospital or get them wherever they need to be in order to deal with it without getting, you know, involved with the police necessarily. Yeah. And I did apply to them. That was the first place I applied to. I did get interviewed, and it looked like I might be able to get hired, but the whole thing was taking a long time. So, and it also wasn't a full-time position. So I ended up taking another job with a caregiving organization, basically. So right now, I mean, I just got a call today that I was working in a different group home with special needs adults, to put it simply. And anyway, so the place I was at, there was a pretty tricky situation. So they pulled me out of that one, and I'm waiting to find out where I'm going to go next. But that's what I've been doing. So working with people.
Well, that just sounds right. Like you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. I mean, I was. It's been a new experience, and I really enjoyed it. With the other group home I worked at, I really learned a lot. I really liked it a lot, and I was sorry they closed down, and so I'm starting on a kind of new phase of my work life now. But we'll see.
Wow.
But
go ahead.
I got basically. Look, I'm living in this small house with 2 cats and about 3,000 books, and I read them and I write stuff here and there. And I've been keeping a journal since the pandemic started. I mean, I kept a journal anyway, and it's not like necessarily like writing out all my thoughts, but recording events like the death toll from the coronavirus pandemic, for instance. Just things like that. But it's kind of weird. I mean, I feel like 5 or 6 notebooks by now, and it's just always laying open on my desk, so I'm throwing things in there, like podcast today.
Yeah. I'd really like to read that sometime or something.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's weird. I mean, it's got all kinds of bizarre things in it. I wanted to build a sort of exercise machine for myself, and at one point, this was like over a year ago now, I just drew out this whole diagram, and I used to take mechanical drawing and stuff in high school, so I was trying to make it look really professional and everything. But anyway, it's a lot of just weird random stuff, and I don't know, but anyway, that's kind of what I'm doing now.
What have you noticed? I guess we're talking about humanities. What have you noticed with people since the pandemic? Have you noticed any kind of changes in how we behave?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, look, I'm scared, honestly, about where things are heading right now. Ecological disasters are becoming commonplace events. We've had huge forest fires for years. I mean, it wasn't. This summer was actually not too bad here as far as smoke, but there were definitely days where there was smoke in the air. But man, the summer before there was a huge fire. We're really right outside of Springfield, which is the next town to Eugene. They're almost like one big city in a certain way, but it's a separate town, but really close. But, I remember the night. In fact, at the time, I was sleeping outside in a camper because I was still working. My ex-wife and
and child were still in the house, but I didn't want to possibly expose them to the virus, and so I was sleeping in a camper out in the driveway at night, so I wouldn't, because I was, like I said, still working, and I was around people all the time. But the night, the smoke, I saw this wall of smoke literally just drifting down my street, and just engulfing everything around, and it was just really thick, heavy smoke, and there was soot on everything and stuff like that, and I don't know. It's just like this foreboding, and every day when the smoke is filling the skies like that, the sun is just this beet red dot, on the horizon, and it just looks like a harbinger of really bad news. And we're experiencing a lot. Look, I know I talked to guys about climate change. I was there, and it's just becoming a terrifying reality more every day, and just watching people start to really finally understand this. I mean, I've been obsessed. I first heard the word the greenhouse effect when I was a kid in New Jersey in like 1968 or 69 or something. My mom and I were watching a nature documentary that literally talked about exactly the same things that are happening now, specifically the ice caps melting and stuff like that. And I just remember it didn't have photographs, but it showed, this is in the 60s, so TV was kind of wonky, but it showed this sort of graphic picture illustration of, sea level rise and stuff like that, and what it would do to, just coastal communities and stuff. And I don't know, I've been seeing this and worrying about it for my whole life, basically, and everybody else seems to finally get it now too, or at least is beginning to, with some exceptions. But the things going on politically right now are just even more horrifying. I mean, I'm worried about Nazis, man. I'm just going to say it. We got Nazis in America now, and they're ready to go. And I don't know what's going to happen in the next election in the next few years. I mean, this country's in really dire shape, and I'm frankly terrified. And again, especially for younger people who are just facing a world that it seems like it wants to tear itself apart. And I don't know what to say to young people other than I'm sorry, and I wish I knew an answer. But it seems like things are just past the point of repair sometimes. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing I was talking to Danloe about, that we both have the same sort of worries and concerns, and I don't know.
I did not expect that.
Well, yeah. Listen, man, that's what's on my mind. You asked me what I'm doing now. A lot of what I'm doing is, I'm hunkered down in my house. I don't go out very much because I don't want to get Omicron, and I worry about things. I read history books and get scared shitless because of the history I see happening right in front of me.
Wow.
And it's shit. I saw what when I've been applying for jobs. I remember talking about working at Baba Kivri during an interview, and they asked where I taught, and I said, you guys have all seen it on the news, because where they're building that wall and destroying sacred sites, that's where I worked. And I've seen like YouTube videos. I've seen a lot of my old students in YouTube videos, and it's been really awesome, man. But also seen protests going on where the walls being built and things like that, and I know they're just bulldozing Oregon pipe cactus and things like that. I mean, it's just hideous, and I don't know. I mean, talk about foreshadowing, Benjamin. I'm
nice.
Terrified of what all this shit foreshadows, man. Honestly,
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be a downer.
Right at the end.
The facts are the facts, man.
Yeah. I'm glad you said it, because I think You know, when you were teaching us in school, it was a different time. Now there's so many changes, and we call them advancements, but like, you know, there's a lot of horror underneath them, and like we talk about the Earth or the planet or this rock that's so important. You know, like, there's a lot of negativity that's around this rock that we're so wanting to preserve.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You said it. Well, Sky, if you don't have another question, I'm gonna go through our closing thing here that I do with the teachers. You got anything else, brother?
I just want to again thank you for making time to talk.
Yeah, it's been great.
No, it's been my pleasure, and I can't believe how fast this time has flown by.
I know.
I've really enjoyed talking with both you guys, and it's really, and you know, like I said at the beginning, man, I'm really proud of you both for doing this, and I think it's awesome, and I, you know, wish you the very best, and you know.
Well, you just you come back on, and we'll just keep being successful. You come back anytime.
Yeah.
All right.
There's some stories we didn't get to. But.
Yeah, man. I hope I didn't miss anything, you know. But yeah, this is the way. This is the nature of the beast here. You never know where it's gonna go. Or
you gotta come back.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come back. And you know what happens is you'll go off, and then you'll remember like, I should have said this or should have did this. So you know, you're gonna have to come back. And if you're cool with that, then
all right,
we'll be happy to have you.
I woke up this morning and I was like, look, I talk to myself a lot anyway. I always have. I'm not crazy, I promise. But I was like imagining kind of what I would talk to you guys about, and literally I was just like running my mouth this morning, and it was weird. And I meditate every morning, you know, and I couldn't do it this morning because I was sitting there and I just kept blah 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 running my mouth, and here I went and pretty much did the same thing. So I think I pretty much covered all the stuff I was saying to myself this morning. But if anything else comes up, man, I will definitely be happy to share it with you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I woke up this morning and I saw that text from you, and I was like, oh, it's today. Like you know, I got all worked up. Like, oh, it's today. We're finally gonna have you on. We've been talking for months, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry it took so long. Listen, man, you guys have been really patient, like I said, and I appreciate it. I'm sorry it took so long, but it sure has been great.
I'm glad,
you know, doing it. So
I'm glad.
I cleaned my room, but I don't know why, man. I said we got Harty on. I need to clean my room.
I knew I felt this sort of tidiness about me the whole time I was talking to you. So thanks for doing it.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you the same thing I asked Danloe.
Sure.
Like final words to three things. It's final words to your students, final words to your coworkers, and final words to your family.
I can say the same final words to all of those groups. I love you all, and I appreciate all the time I've had with you guys, and I know I've said it a lot, but I'm very grateful. And you know, honestly, two of the best things I've learned to really practice and dwell on in the last several years are forgiveness and gratitude. And I'm just grateful, man. I've had an amazing life, and you guys were a gigantic part of that. And I can't imagine my life without each of you two individual young men, and without all the students I've known over the years at Barbecue. And you know, this house is full of stuff that I got out of the res. You know, baskets, and I have a Tohono flag hanging on my bedroom door.
Nice.
And you know, just pictures and all kinds of memorabilia from being there. And I'm grateful every day that I got to be there, and been a big part of my life. like I said, I love all of you, and I'm deeply grateful.
Cool. You got me crying again.
Well, me too, man.
I'm not gonna cry.
I don't know how I got through this whole thing without blowing my nose. I'm gonna have to do a big one when I'm done.
Yeah. Well, just hearing your voice, you know, like I said, I've been thinking about you ever since high school. You know, like, you know, I don't think about everybody, but you, man. I think about you all the time, and I want you to know that you're a big part of my life. And you know, those guys who didn't hire you, the schools, they're idiots. You know, they don't know what they missed. And
well,
thank you for coming on. It's good.
Thank you.
It's really good to hear your voice.
It's really good to hear you guys too. You know, I've never had problems feeling at home in places, but like I said about feeling more part of a community, I also really still feel that home is out there in the desert too.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, you're always welcome.
Glad I was there, man.
Yeah, you're a part of us. Part of it.
Yeah.
Well, you're a part of me too, believe that.
Yeah.
All right. I think we nailed it, guys. Or you nailed it, Harty. I'm really glad you came on. So,
me too, man.
Everybody out there, huh? Go ahead.
Can I just say officially, later, well.
we can leave it right there. Everybody. Thanks for listening, everybody. You're listening to the Natives in America podcast, and we had Michael Harty on today, Mr. Harty. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Peace.